start things off with the intro lick. This is going to be on a clean channel. It'll sound like this. And that'll repeat 4 times. So we're grabbing like a E power chord, 7th fret of the A string here, and you're gonna pick down open E and then A and D strings, and then pick your open B and do a little trill on the 8th fret, and then you're gonna come back down to the G string, go G, D, G. Okay, and then put your middle finger at the 8th fret of the low E. Sorry. And then the D and the G again after you hit that. And then come over here with your index finger and bar across the high E and the B. So you go 7th fret, high E, B string, and then at the 9th fret you go G, D, G again. So you do that while kind of holding this bar chord shape. So sorry. All right. It's a little bit tricky. Takes some getting used to, and I don't bar the chord the whole time. Like, I'm just playing like a power chord like this, and then when it comes to here, then I come down and I bar like that. That's just how I do it, or you could bar it the whole time. So that's the first half. The second time it does pretty much the same thing but with a different ending. It goes so once you get to the point where you put your middle finger at the 8th fret of the low E, you're gonna go and then pick the D and the G again, the 9th fret, and then just grab just the high E at the 7th fret, and then a D power chord. So and that's once through, does that 4 times. And I think Bucket might every other time add the B to that, so you're kind of going like, I'm not 100% sure if it's every other time or if he just throws that in sometimes, but you're pretty much just playing your D power chord but adding the B there, so it's like a little bit tricky but not too bad. So all together. So you do that whole thing 4 times, and then that gets you to the main theme with some distortion. Sound like. And they'll do that 4 times as well. And that one's pretty simple too. It's just kind of walking down a E minor scale. So you start out 7th fret of the A string, and then play 10, 9, 7, and then play 10, 8, 7 on your low E, and then go 8, 7, 5. And then you come to your 3rd fret of the low E, and then 5th fret, and then go 2, 3, 2 on your A string, and then it's just 5, 3, 2 open on your low E. So alright, so all together. So we'll do that 4 times, and then get to your first little lead bit that sounds like. So you come up to the 12th fret here of the B, and then the high E, and then grab 14th of the high E and give it a half step bend and release. So you pick it and then pick it again and do the bend and release. And then you play 15th of the B to 12th of the B, back to 15th of the B to 12th of the high E, and then 12th of the B. So you got and then you go 15th of the B to 12th of the high E to 12th of the G. And then you just end it by going 11th on the G to the 14th of the D string. So all together. And then you do the, again, that's the same, but then instead of going, you're gonna go, so 15th of the high E to the 17th, and then play 19, 20, 19. And then you go 21st fret of the G string, and then on the high E go 22, 21, 19. So all together. And that's it. It does that whole thing twice. And then you get to another clean lick. Sounds like this. And it'll do that 4 times. So here we're picking the open B and E string and hammer on the high E only to the 2nd fret, like, and then pick it again and hammer the high E to the 3rd, and then pick open. Do that again, and then just go hammer it to the 2nd fret and then open, and then you've got, so that's open B, hammer on and pull off at the 1st fret, and then open G, and then 2nd fret of the D string, and then open high E. So and then you do the again, and then end it by playing the 3rd fret of the B string. So, all right, all together one more time. So that whole thing is repeated 4 times, and then he just hits a E minor chord, an open E, and you're adding the 3rd fret of the B. So you're like, you know, your normal open chord here, but add that 3rd fret of the B, strum down it, and then you play 3rd fret of the B, and then open G. So you're just going. All right. And then back to distortion for the next riff, which is probably my favorite. Really cool sounding one here. It goes like. Love that one. So that's the last one I'm going to show in this video real quick, and then the rest will be in part 2. So come to the 7th fret of the A string and pick the low E with it at the same time, like, and then chunk the low E a couple times. Palm mute it. And then play the 7th fret of the low E and hammer it on to the 8th and then 10th. Okay, so you hammer that on 7, 8, 10, and then you're gonna pick the 7th fret of the A string to the 9th. I'm sorry, actually the 10th. Go 7, 10, and then you do the trill on the 9th and the 10 here with your ring finger and your pinky. So it's like, and then back to your 8th fret of the low E. And then you grab an A power chord to your 5th fret of the low E here. Chunk that a couple times, palm muted. And then you're gonna play 5, hammer on to 7 and 8, and then grab the 5th fret of the A string. So, and then you grab your C power chord, your 8th fret of the low E. So you're going like, or you could grab it down here, 3rd fret. I like to do that one. So all together. And then it goes back to that same lead thing we did in the beginning. Nothing's changed, same lead as earlier, the one that sounds like. We'll do that twice again. And then the rest I will show in part 2. All that stuff after that, it's like. All that stuff. And then that'll be it. So, hope you enjoyed this one so far. This is part 1 of 2. I'll do part 2 in a few days. And this is my first time making a lesson video, so I hope it only gets better from here. And if there's any requests you guys have, drop them in the comments. I'd love to do more for you guys. Whether it's Bucket or anything else, let me know. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. See you in part 2, hopefully in a few days.